Hey guys, Tom Barclay here. Yeah, I know I said the other day I wouldn't do one at a train station, but do you know what? I've actually got quite a lot of time to kill trying to get over to Brentford because the trains are few and far between on a Sunday. So, do you know what? I'm going to go for it. Fingers crossed you can hear me throughout. But anyway, I want to do a video about Kevin Danso. Obviously, the big news that he has signed for Spurs. Tottenham finally ended their search this month for an outfield player. Having obviously only signed Anton Kinski, the goalkeeper from Slavia Prague, previously this month. Ange Postecoglou crying out for new faces, and he's finally got one through the door in defender Kevin Danso, who's someone I remember a little bit from his loan at Southampton because I was covering the club then. I'll come on to that in a minute, but yeah, a welcome boost, I suppose. There has to be, particularly with the injury situation, and we're still waiting to find out about Radu Dragusin, but the fact that Spurs have moved so quickly to bring in Danso suggests that they are worried about Dragusin, the state of that injury that he picked up in the last game, hobbled off against Elfsborg with a knee problem. Still waiting to find out on that one. But yeah, they moved so quickly that they actually hijacked the move from Wolves. He was all set to go to Wolves he has even had his medical set at Wolves for the weekend, and then Spurs moved for it after. It looked like Fikayo Tomori, the England defender at AC Milan, didn't seem completely convinced on coming to Tottenham, so they moved Danso instead. He joins on loan. I've seen David Ornstein talk about a €25 million fee and a 5-year deal. I'm not quite sure exactly, but I imagine that's probably quite accurate knowing what David's like, but I haven't been able to firm that up yet. But he signs on loan for the rest of the season with an obligation to buy in the summer. He takes the number 4 shirt. I think the last one to have that was Oliver Skipp, and the likes of I think it's Georgie Popescu and Stefan Freund. It used to be a sort of holding midfielder number, didn't it? Number 4, and Skipper was it as well. But Danso more of a defender. Although I do think earlier in his career he could have played holding midfield as well, quite versatile, which is what Ange likes. But I think he's more of a centre back. And crucially, providing international clearance and a work permit come through in time, and there's no sort of problems with that expected, he should be fit to play Liverpool on Thursday. Obviously not today here at Brentford, although he will be watching the game despite doing his interview late into the night, into the early hours with Tottenham after signing last night. He will be watching the game. I don't know if he'll actually be at the game, but he will be watching it. But yeah, should be available for Liverpool provided that all comes through, which could be crucial, but given that Christian Romero, you would guess, still doesn't look near enough. Obviously Van de Ven, hopefully he'll be, get through today's game okay and be fit for that game, but with no Dragusin you'd expect based on this news. Hopefully Danso can at least be available. Whether he comes straight into the team or not, we'll have to see, and we'll speak to Ange Postecoglou after the game, find out what the plans are on that front. So like I say, I think the injury to Dragusin really has sparked this sort of rush for a centre-back right at the end of the window. And I was just watching Danso's first interview where he said he always wanted to play for a big club in the Premier League, and Tottenham is exactly that. And it reminds me of, or called to mind, the comments that Ange Postecoglou made just the other day to my Tottenham Way colleague, Times colleague Tom Allnut, who was asking about difficulty of signing players. Train coming through, so hopefully you can hear me. And Ange sort of said, look, if he feels like he's having to give people the hard sell, and they're still not convinced to come to Spurs, then they're probably not the right kind of players, which should always be the case for every club. If you really feel like you're really, really trying to do everything you can to just sort of convince them that your club is right, then I guess there are sort of certain situations where you try to do that, and then and it's worth it because the player is so good. But if the player's heart's not quite in it from the off, I don't think that's a great start. But watching Danso's interview, they're always going to be pretty positive once they've committed and signed on the dotted line and they've signed for a club. But it genuinely does seem like he wants to be here. He says it's an amazing project to be part of. He seems like totally committed to this. So, if Tomori didn't want to come really, and they've come for Danso instead, and he really wants to be here, I suppose what really matters is his quality on the pitch, and he's got to go and prove that now. But at least he's coming from a perspective of, I want to be here, I want to be part of this, and that for me is a sort of prerequisite for any signing for any club, to be honest. He also in that video sort of describes, I was going to go on to describe what kind of player he was, but he does it himself. And he says he's quick, he's powerful, he's 6'3" by the way, he's a centre back, he's good on the ball and good in one-on-one situations. That's and that's what he thrives off, he says. Now all of those descriptions for a centre back are exactly the kind of player that I think, kind of centre back, that fits Ange Postecoglou's style of football. That's exactly what he wants from his defenders. It's kind of a bit, not quite what, my doubts over Radu Dragusin at times, just waiting for this train to go past, is because he doesn't quite fit into that. I don't know how good he is in one-on-one situations. He's not that quick. He's definitely powerful, and he's excellent in sort of backs against the wall situations. I often feel like he fit David Moyes' team better, Dragusin, and he actually will be a miss against Liverpool because that's probably what the kind of game it will be. But I'd argue so far I haven't seen him be really good on the ball. So that's why I'm still sort of slightly questioning how suitable, the suitability of Dragusin's signing. But there you go. But Danso, if he can live up to all these descriptions of himself, then it really does feel like a good fit. So that's promising, definitely. He's obviously come through playing academy football here. I mean, I don't know if you know his backstory, but he was born in Austria to Ghanaian parents, but he moved to Milton Keynes age 6, and was in the Reading and the MK Dons academy. Funnily enough, Reading before MK Dons. So when you hear him speak, his English sounds flawless. He actually sounds English, to be honest. And he stayed here until 2014, where he joined Augsburg, where you might remember Japhet Tanganga having a loan there, and basically I don't know if he even played a game because of his knee problems before he left for Millwall, but yeah, he went to Augsburg, was in their academy, and then broke through into their first team and had a few loans, and I'll come on to that. But yeah, that's his backstory. I'm not quite sure at the moment what that means exactly from his homegrown status. I think in England, the Premier League, because he would have been, I don't think there is, it's up to the age of 21, if you spent 3 seasons at a club, you do qualify as homegrown. And I don't think there's a cut-off point, i.e. in Europe it seems to be from age 15 to 21, of which he wouldn't have been at English clubs for 3 years, because he would have left age about just before 16 or around 16 to go to Augsburg, so he wouldn't count there. But I think he would count for English clubs, for England, so in the Premier League. So that's a bonus if that is the case, but I'm still trying to work out how it exactly works on that front. He's talked about the opportunity to win trophies. I know other rival fans will look at the league position, which hopefully Spurs can try and address today against Brentford, but look, yes, he could quite conceivably come into a team. If he can go and help them get a win at Liverpool, then he's through to a final straight away. So there is a possibility this season, obviously in Europe, and they're still in the FA Cup. So he's talked about the will for that to happen, and that's his plan. I've just actually, as I'm speaking, had it confirmed that he will be a 5-year deal, that he will have contract when he has his option activated in the summer, when the obligation of the transfer deal. Wait for the train to go past. You're going to be annoyed, aren't you? You're going to stop turn off this video just because I said I wouldn't do this and I've done it again. Let's just wait for good old South Western Railway to come to a stop. Anyway, so yeah, I've just had it confirmed actually that it is a 5-year deal, as David Onstein said, when he has his deal turned permanent in the summer. So he's been at Lens for quite a few years. So before, he was at Augsburg, had a couple of loans, and I remember that loan at Southampton. It was in the 2019-20 season. He came in with a bit of fanfare. It was like they were waiting to get him over the line. They were excited about him. Ralf Hasenhüttl, who was the manager at the time, is also a fellow Austrian, and was very excited about him. He played quite a lot of the early games. And then I remember a 1-1 draw against Man United, in which Danso got 2 yellow cards, got sent off. So long ago that Dan James scored for Man United. And he, I don't know if he ever really recovered. He ended up playing 10 matches. His last game for Southampton was ironically against Tottenham, a 1-1 draw where Sonny scored, but then Zaid scored right with sort of 3 minutes to go through Boufal, another player that didn't work out for Southampton, for a frustrating draw from Tottenham's perspective. But I don't even remember him being injured. I just don't think he really got much of a look in after that. The likes of Vestergaard were much preferred, Bednarak, which, to be honest, when I first heard the name Kevin Danso at Tottenham, that was the first thing that came to mind, just because I had quite sort of first-hand experience of watching him then and thought, well, I hope he's a lot better than he was back then. But look, it was a long time ago. He was barely 20, and at centre-back, so much development can happen since, so I don't think it's fair to judge on that at all. And it looks like he's come on sort of leaps and bounds since. Primarily at Lens, who right now is 6th in the French league, but actually only 4 points off second. He's been a big part of that, along with Kusanov, who's gone to the first Uzbeki to come to the Premier League, who's obviously signed for Man City. They formed quite a good partnership from all I can tell, helping Lens to sort of get up to where they are, albeit they've sold both of them now, so how does that go down for the rest of their season, I don't know. But often when you're assessing the French league and how well teams are playing, how well players are playing, you look at how they got on against PSG. And back in November, they lost 1-0 away to PSG when Kusanov was actually sent off in the 59th minute. So actually, that doesn't sound bad going overall. But overall, it looks like he's developed massively at Lens, and Tottenham seem to be very happy to get him. We'll speak to Ange later, see what his thoughts are. But presumably, he's very happy. Right kind of player, likes the profile, you would guess. And the fact that he wants to be here and just to boost the numbers, I suppose. So we'll find out how much of a chance he's got to play in that Liverpool game, what the latest of Dragazin is, if we know. And I'll speak to you after the game. One final thing, I was asked by a few Turkish journalists, weirdly, this morning, about any kind of talk about potentially Fenerbahce coming in for Sun this window before the end of the winter, given they've just signed with Alinson Maximan to Napoli. I think there's quite a lot of talk in Turkey over there. I mean, I haven't seen it, I've just had it come to me through journalists. I have checked it out. I'm told absolutely no chance. Spurs are going to sell their captain with 2 days left of the window, so I think you can scrub that one out. Anyway, let's do a video after the game and hear Ange's thoughts on Danso. Fingers crossed from Spurs' point of view, as difficult a game as it is away at Brentford, they can start turning their league form around and it can be upwards and onwards from here. But I'll speak to you after the game. Cheers, guys.